this final year starting to really build up now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's first time in Melbourne, so pretty pumped to be here. We really wanted to make it a big, exciting event, and everything's rolling into place at the moment. You know, we've got a great card. I'm real stoked with the card. We've got some really good fights here, so looking forward to them, and then now we just want to build up everything around it.
Talk us through the undercard, some good fights on there.
Some really good fights. Look, one that I'm really disappointed with, obviously Kane Clark got injured. I thought that was going to be a great fight, and hopefully we can still do that in the near future. But you know, Kane was a really exciting fight. I think on our last time that he was on an Olympic card. Joel Taylor, I'm really looking forward to. I think the two shows that we've had him on, he was the underdog in both of those fights, and came out with a massive performance. I really like him. I think that he's got a hell of a lot of talent, and looking forward to seeing him perform. Jade Mitchell back, obviously, at the mouth of Melbourne. He's got plenty to say. I love Jade. He's he brings a really good energy to the show, I think, and you know, he really wants to make another run for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing where he's at now, because there's some really good fights for him here in Australia.
Nikita Tszyu, Benny Loma as well. A lot of build up to that fight.
Oh, absolutely. Look, Nikita's always going to have a lot of pressure on him. He's had pressure on him since day one. He debuted, you know, headlining shows as a debutant, as a guy with no experience. So he's always had the pressure on him. He's always had people coming for him. Ben Bomber's a guy who really wants him. He's a guy who's really prepared for it, and I actually like Ben Bomber too. You know, he's got a lot of talent, got a hell of a lot of talent, and he really puts a lot of work into his craft. Like the fact that he went to Vegas for a training camp shows how focused he is, and shows how much he's making of this opportunity that he's got. You know, a fight against Nikita Tszyu, the upcoming star of Australian boxing, here in his hometown as a co-main event to one of the great heavyweights from the area. It's a huge opportunity for him, so he's making the most of it, and I really like it. I like the team. The team's been great to work with, and the fact that he's going to give it every opportunity that he can is fantastic. But at the end of the day, I hope the kid can get the win, but he needs these tests, he needs these tough fights, and this is going to be another tough one for him.
You made of how Nikita's dealt with the pressure, through the pressure with Tim and his dad. What are you made of how he's dealt with it?
I think it's been great. Like I said, from day one, all eyes have been on him. The pressure of his father, obviously, and then the pressure of his brother on top of that. You know, he's a different cat, Nikita. He's a real different character, and I think the different personality that he has makes it a lot easier for him to be able to deal with this pressure. Is that, you know, he goes with the flow. He knows what he wants. You know, he's got his own style, his own likes, and I think, you know, the fact that he knows who he is and he's comfortable with who he is, that's what makes it so much easier for him.
And there's a footy fight on this card as well. I guess, what's the thinking behind putting these sort of fights on the card?
Well, I've always wondered what the AFL boys are like. You know, like AFL's massive down here in Melbourne. You're going to come to Melbourne, you know, you want to try and get the AFL crowd behind the fights. And I've always been curious about what the AFL boys are like. Obviously, they're supreme athletes, very fit. You know, they're a lot leaner than rugby league players. So, you know, as far as a boxing sense, they've probably got a better suited build for boxing. You know, they've got big tanks. You know, very fit people. So we'll see how they go. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to go, but I think that the fact that we've got Cam Mooney and Tom Bell-Chambers, I think that's going to be really good. You know, Cam Mooney is obviously a well-known AFL personality, and apparently he's been in the boxing gyms for quite some time. He's always been training in boxing, and it's easy enough training, and then you've got to actually step in the ring and be able to back it up. So I have no idea what's going to happen in that fight, and that's what I love about the footy style fights, is that anything that you think that you know about the guy stepping into the ring, you know, at the end of the day, anything goes.
Now, what about the main event, just Parker? I guess, how did this fight come about? It sort of come out of left field, kind of, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Joseph's been, locked up in other contracts for a long time, so he's been doing his thing on the heavyweight scene, on the global heavyweight scene for quite some time. We bumped into him over in Manchester at the David Light fight, and I had a good chat to him there. We were looking at doing a fight with him before then, and I think the fact that we're able to sit down and have a good yarn to him, and he got to really see who we are and what we're about. I think that's what helped get this across the line, is that we put it out to him, asked him if he wanted to have a fight in Australia, because he's never fought in Australia, and here he is. He was keen, he wanted it. He's looking to make another run for it all as well too. I mean, the global heavyweight scene is off its head. So for him to want to be a part of it again, to be getting back in the mix, to be active, and really having another run for it. I think it's exciting for us as Australian and New Zealand boxing fans, and the fact that we're going to get him fighting here in Australia, we can then claim him as our own if he goes on another world title run.
Now, Tyson Fury, he's arrived?
He has arrived. Look, I said before, we wanted to build a lot of hype around this Melbourne show, so we've been trying to, make sure the event is fantastic, that we get a heap of celebs and, a lot of people really around the event, making a great time. The Tyson Fury turning up, that just takes it to a whole other level. It wasn't even on the cards when we were trying to, build the hype around the event. So the fact that we've got arguably one of the most popular figures in global boxing here in our country, here in Melbourne, it's really cool. I'm buzzing about it. There's a lot of people that have got a real buzz about it, and to be able to meet the Gypsy King and see him here, in our country, supporting our events and being a part of it, being in Joseph's corner, and it's cool. It's cool.
So you're expecting the fans to come out and see Tyson?
Oh, absolutely. I've got no doubt that a lot of people want to see him. So I want to see him. So if I'm feeling this way, I've got no doubt that anybody else who follows boxing, who follows Tyson Fury, you might not ever get another chance to actually see him in the flesh. And while he's here in the country, there's a good chance of it. Whether it's at the bar down the road or at the boxing, there's a chance that you could bump into the Gypsy King.
I guess, is it a chance for you guys to sort of show a guy like Tyson what you can do as promoters?
Absolutely. We've been lucky enough to be able to travel around the world in the last 18 months, seeing other shows, seeing what people are doing overseas, and we want to put on the best shows here too. We want to create that same feeling, that same atmosphere that you see at big shows, at big exciting events overseas. We want to have that same feeling here in Australia, and if we can emulate that, and we can have him come along, have a really good time, and see what we do here, see the talent that we've got here as well. There's a lot of boxing talent here in Australia, and we do exciting events. So if he loves it, we'll try and twist his arm to get him back out here again.
Now, other big news this week: Tim Zhu, WBO, Jamal Charlo. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, look, it's great, but at the same time, it's a reminder that he's risking it all in a month's time. He's risking everything when Undisputed sits just around the corner. I still believe that had that fight gone ahead in January, that Tim would have won that fight. I believe that he's in supreme condition for it at that time. Now he's going to have 2 fights under his belt leading into the Charlo fight. So it's he's going to be even more ready. I think even more prepared to win the 4 belts and become undisputed.
Is there a chance that he could be stripped of the tie? Have you given thought to that if that happens?
Look, I hope it doesn't, and I don't think Charlo will either. I think that my kid, he is a champion. He's a champion. As much as we want to, go at him and we want to take the belts off him, he's a champion. He's earned them belts. He is a fighter. At the end of the day, when he's in the ring, he's the most. He has proved to be the most dangerous man in the super welterweight division. But I believe that's now Tim Zhu. personally, I believe that Tim Zoo's the most dangerous man in that division. I believe he's the best fighter in the super middleweight division. And the only way that we're going to be able to prove it is when we step into Charlo's backyard and take the belts off him.
Yeah, looking at Tim in the next stages in his career, do you think he'll fight here or do you think he'll base himself overseas?
Look, I think as often as he can, he'll fight here in Australia. We love him fighting here, he loves fighting here, but he also wants to challenge himself as much as possible. He wants to experience everything that he can. You see from the way that he is, you know, he wants to fight. He wants to take fights, he wants to take risks, he wants to take the hard route wherever possible. And if the hard route means fighting someone in their backyard in a different country when a different opportunity presents itself, I think that he'll very much do that. The more that the global audience gets to see what Tim Zoo's about, I think the more his fan base will build overseas too. So, you know, we'll have to please them as well. You know, we can't just keep him here to ourselves. You know, he'll really have to show what he can do on the world stage. And I think, you know, Tim becoming undisputed, becoming the undisputed world champion, he'll prove that he'll want to defend them belts as often as possible. And it's not something that we get to see from champions. You know, like it's been, you know, some guys fight once a year. Some guys fight even less frequently. So for Tim will be at least 3 times a year. And so for the boxing fans, you're going to get to see an undisputed champion who wants to fight 3 times a year, 4 times a year.
At what point did you sort of look at Tim and think you could get to this level? Were you always confident, or were there any doubts, or how do you sort of reflect on Tim's career?
I've always had my beliefs in Tim. I love him as a fighter, love him as a bloke, and you see his growth though with every fight, and that's what I mean. When he'd had nearly 12 months between fights before the Harrison fight, and you think, you know, is ring rust going to creep in? Is he going to be at the standard that we have grown to expect from him and love from him? And he came out and he was above any expectation of what I think most people thought. What he did to Tony Harrison in that fight, you know, it showed that again he keeps growing with every opportunity that he gets, and the tougher the competition, the more he steps up, and with every fight he keeps getting better and better. So the growth has just been phenomenal for Tim. I know there was a lot of people that didn't believe in him from the start, but we've always believed in him, and the fact that he just keeps getting better and better is just an added bonus.
Haney, Loma, did you see that fight today?
Yeah, great fight. Look, I really felt for Lomachenko. I thought that he really, I mean, it's a very close fight. I think whatever way it went, someone was going to be unhappy. You know, the supporter base was going to be unhappy with whoever lost on that fight. It was so close. I did think that Lomachenko edged him out, but you know, it was a great fight.
And good week for Tyson here in Loma. See you next week. As Aussies, you must be pretty proud of you guys.
Yeah, and I think you know yourself what their boys are like. Some of the nicest blokes in sport. They're really good guys, and I'm stoked for Jason winning the world title the other week. You know, sent through a message to both of the boys and wished them luck and congratulated Jason. And very unfortunate today. Very tough fight. You know, that just shows the level that the fights that they've got to take and that they are taking. Such tough fights, but really representing for Australia, and they never back down. That's the one thing I love about them boys, is that they always give 100%. I know even for Andrew today, even though it was a loss for him today, I know that he left everything out in the ring. You know, he really gave it every opportunity that he had. And, I hope that he's well and he pulls up all right from that fight, because we don't want to see anyone get hurt in the ring. As much as we love the exciting knockouts and everything that comes with it, we don't want to see anyone get hurt. And I hope for him and his family that he pulls up well.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.